Genz speaker, please welcome. New York and New Jersey sunny peki shunu henzo ki koji wala. Ki je bao loga rangzen la ki tsube. Peki bao tang pa mo tsu. Namde kadin je din tang. Pe rangzen tap tse ki che do. Tering zamning nyamde gya zu ki dun du zombe. Kawa kangchen pe peba changma la chamdi tash dele tang kadin she shu. Nge ming la ko shung chang zho pe wang mo yin. Nge mitse na. Bao loga rangzen la ngo shing pe kogap chungwa di. Ngarang ki sonam tsigiye. Nga gyagad ne New York namtang la lib ne sun. Bao loga rangzen ngo shigiye. Hondi chin ne. Bao loga rangzen la ki. Shiga ngoma di kanta yo nga hago giye. Bao loga rangzen la ne. Mi semba sangbo. Nawa kibo. Shen la rokwa chigenda. Geshe hajang chenpo shire. China sumbala, nye lo chuchu kegar ki chedo. Bao loga rangzen la ki. Nangmi na shin. Rokwa ha le banang so. Di nye kegar ki je kawe chenso tsa chenpo shizigi yo. Bao loga rangzen la. Jikden dir. Milong apchu ngangi shuk beding la. New York Post tang jao gyana to. Kong ki nangmi pinche da. Chokpo chokmo tse. Kong la tun nam yang yomba sen ne jeshe gyamyu yomare. Bao loga rangzen shuk beding la. Pe rangzen tapze ba shik tang. Kong chong be kapsu. Geche bao shire. Bao loga rangzen la ki logi ngoma dire. Dinge hasebo kogiyo. Dinge denbang chitupgiyo. Jao gyana ki. Pyo tsame tangay ki. Pyo tsame tangay ki timge ki lega denzo. Timtu suya ki tapshi chedo. Ethnic Unity and Progress Law serwe timde suya pare. Timyik di gyaptu. Jao gyana ki miyu ngoma di kari imbang anzo ngonjin che tup kore. Teni, pen nangtu, pen mirik, rikshon tang chepa, same soe nechu denzo, beya ki tapshi chegore. Gyana ki, anzo pepe chugu, lo shine, chepke par, pechuk tongcha mangbo, pama tang ka tene, Chadui lopja nangtu tsembo chine chuki yore. Chadui lopja nangtu kya ge tang kya ik mado. Pyo ki ke ik tang rikshung jang michok pa tang jangsa me pa sugi yore. Timik ang chukchu renga pa di. Pyo nang ki pyo pa tsu ka tang lakpa damba na shing chawgi yore. Hinayang pyo nang ki pyo pa tsu Kanyong chinyong ki pyo ki rikshung tang kei sungyop chiya ki tapshi shigore. Ta nganzo zenju rangwa longba nangtu yuebe pyo pa tso. Lakbar to nganzo shungi tso. Soso la jiwa tang samlo tangay ki tuze leb yore. Bao loga rangzen la ki tsube. Pyo ki bao tang pamo tsu shel chem tang. Rewa denzo kanda shine drup gosare. Bao loga rangzen la ki, karma chuk ring, shel chem sungpa na shin. Anzo peba chola, pe rangzen ma to, drosa talanga shena yo mare. Ting anzo kelen chiya ki tuze leb yore. Anzo la top tang, tang rangwa kanya mewa di, anzo pe rangzen shorwa chine re. Pe nang pe mi chwe, milo dunjul ha, Kange, tang dunge, nyong debati, jao gyana ki siju tang, timlo ki gyumsen chikpo membar. Kange tang gyumsen zoo di, jao gyana ki pela, zinju chepa dire. Hondi nganzo ngunjin che tup gore, hondi nganzo kelen che tup gore. 벼랑젠 라소치야니 개체슈타 벼기 짜퇴니 벼랑젠레 먼저 쉔기소 된당 오마디 켈렌 폭바타 까잉엘라 동땡 투페 미랍식 차고 디 벼기 마웅바레 디 빠오 당빠모츠 레와레 디 자오 갸나라 갑데기 누바레 밀로 든줄하 자오 갸나키 센주타 냐네 뇽네 데요레 다 페미레레 니 세베 투절레비오레 니 세네 벼랑젠 탑죄치야기 투절레브레 벼랑젠 라소치네 벼라 칠로규 레와탕 밀람 예베 벼바 창마 니 세야기 체도 파올로가 랑젠 라키 랑루 메라 색바레 파올로가 랑젠 라키 르동티 젠주 벼미 창메 셈 낭투 벼랑젠기 메빠르 요아디 세보도 이나야 디 당게 요 말에 파올로가 랑젠 라 쯔베 벼키 파오탕 파모초라 먼저 다동야 진렌탕 불렌탕대요레 파오의 셰구 차르웨 제수야 먼저 못튀네 벼랑젠 탑주 제워레 파올로가 랑젠 라 길르동 디 벼랑젠 탑주기 로규 링구의 낭투 르동 파르메 장가식 미차빨 벼랑젠 탑주기 톨랍식 소규 파올로가 랑젠 라키 쉘챔탕 레와체토 대링네 송 완전 벼비 쉔기초 벼바 족보다 정몽냠도 여두 벼게 갸버레 소소 락발라 벼기 갸답 kit네 탑줄라 펩쇼 대링네 송 완전 미랍기 둔 남양 자오 갸나 킹냐는탕 자오 갸나라 고운 미구르베 탐자탕 닝덥시 깨고레 빙상 겸이수 벼팀 미랍 니기 제수 깨익 당 미랍 쌈에 저기레 세기도 자오 갸나키 벼팀 미랍 니라 쌈에 저기레 세르베 롱덴디 완주 둔 남양 켈레메 자오 갸나키 레와탕 롱덴디 캅데토 대링네 송 완주 쉔기츠 벼베 깨익탕 게랍 파르마장네 자오 갸나라 오차탕 교바게 괴바식 소기 테링네 송 완전 페페 쉔기초 탐자티 렌투코레 나 페바이 완전 페바레 완전 페 잼베 부초이 완전 튼 남양 자오 갸나라 고 미굿 완전 못튀네 벼랑젠 라쇠체도 탑주 차규인 완전 독자 치지키 벼랑젠 라쇠 차규인 디 파올로가 랑젠 라키 쉘챔레 디 마제 디 셈라샤 가딘체 벼갤로 벼랑젠 갤로 파올로가 갤로 벼밍인도 갤로 가딘체不是先让这边我们不种草了，接着了，丁子王给了呢，送是那个嘞。Up next, I'm pleased to invite 丁子王给了 to take the stage.
Gallo! 42 days ago, at 5:38 p.m., Paolo Garangza sat right there and video called My Pala. They spoke for a few minutes about division in the Tibetan exile community, about the CCP's new genocidal ethnic unity law, and about education. Loga Rangzila talked about how he deeply regretted that he had Because of his lack of formal education and his difficulty learning English, there was so much he couldn't do. His love for his nation, his desire for Tibet's independence was stronger than anything you could imagine. But after 20 years in America, he realized that his simple patriotic love couldn't bring Tibet's narrative into the world's media or work with the governments of the world to fight against China. He realized that only Tibetans who had the education and had the languages of the world that he lacked could get that job done. We young Tibetans have that privilege. We have those tools to fight for our country. Everything he told my father that he lacked, we possess it. Our grandparents fled Tibet across the freezing, dangerous terrain. Our parents built lives in strange countries, working odd jobs, so that we could get this education, we could get these opportunities. And we could continue their fight. To our older generation, because of that, we have immense gratitude. But Loga Rangzela was right when he said that the infighting and petty politics are destroying our exile community. As a young Tibetan, it's embarrassing to see. And when you see it from our perspective, it doesn't make any sense. Try explaining to us why some Tibetan communities have two organizations, or why some parents won't let their kids play with children whose families believe in Rangze. This reminds me of a story. When my Momo first arrived in India, in Yaga, there was a blatant divide among Tibetans in her village simply because they came from different regions. Kham, Amdo, Utang. Despite all of them being forced from the same motherland, same homeland, they had the audacity to have these type of regional differences divide them. That mindset was then passed down to their kids, my mother's generation. But by then, the hateful sparks had already weakened. They weren't that close. They were close, but they weren't close to the point where they were as one. Today, in the very same village that was once deeply divided, my cousins play basketball, have sleepovers, go to parties with the same kids whose grandparents were once on the opposite sides of those divisions. With every generation, those walls continue to disappear, and we grow closer as one people. Doksa Chikti. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what region we come from, or whether we can stand together for Rangze in a fight for our very existence. In light of Paul Loga Rangzela's ultimate sacrifice, we must leave those divisions behind. We must leave those divisions behind. Because if we were asking the world to stand with us, stand with Pe, stand with Tibet, we must first be willing to stand with each other. My Tibetans in exile, our moment is here. China has brought the fight to our doorstep. Article 63 of the Genocidal Ethnic Unity Law, the law that Loga Rangze died for, protesting, states that organizations and individuals outside the mainland territory of the PRC that commit acts aimed at the PRC that undermine ethnic unity, progress, or create ethnic division are to be pursued for legal responsibility in accordance with law. Listen to that. Process that. Just by being here today in New York City, carrying a Tibetan flag, protesting for our very freedom, we are now criminals in the eyes of the CCP. But we've always known this. We've always known this. China is saying the silent part out loud. In their eyes, being Tibetan is being criminal. Is to be a criminal. I want to end my speech with Paolo Loga Rangzela's final words, his final message. Tibetan independence. My generation has heard a lot from our parents about Umilam Rangze. But for us to truly fight for our nation, our cause, we must know the real facts about our history. In 1979, His Holiness's brother, Gyalo Tunduk, went to China to meet with the Chinese dictator at the time, Deng Xiaoping. Deng Xiaoping said to Gyalo Tunduk that if we gave up our fight for independence, if we stopped saying Rangze, if we stopped saying free Tibet, if we stopped saying that, everything else could be negotiable. Whether it was Kong Secho coming back to Pe, whether if we had religious freedom in Pe, they said that everything would be negotiable. Based on that lie, His Holiness Kong Secho put forward the Strasbourg proposal in 1988, where he announced Tibet would give up its fight for independence and try for a genuine autonomy instead. That was almost 40 years ago. 40. That's older than most of the Shunge here, most of the younger people here, that's older than them. And for the older generation, that's most of their lives. 40 years based on that lie. Some people have been urging for Umilam. We've been brainwashed. It is not right. We shouldn't rely on China. The people that are committing genocide to our people. Why would we trust them? Why? His Holiness always says, it is our duty as Tibetan Buddhists to hold up all of his teachings like we're inspecting a piece of gold and compare them to reality. And if a teaching isn't compatible with reality, to set it aside. Umilam may have made sense 40 years ago when Deng Xiaoping first made his false promise to Gyalo Tunduk. But today, with the new Chinese dictator who's far more brutal, far worse, aiming to eradicate the Tibetan people, Umilam is not compatible with our reality today. The CCP doesn't even let its own Han people have the freedom of religion or speech. Why would they give Tibet a better deal than its own citizens? Think about that. Why would they? Paulo Rangze said it the best. The only path forward is independence, is Rangze. The only way to secure our future, our religious freedom, is independence. Paulo Rangze died to show us the way forward. And with the unified support of our elders in our community, I know we will win. So that we will all soon be reunited in a free Tibet, in an independent Tibet. Rangze! Rangze Gyalo! Paulo Rangze Gyalo! Peki Dakbo Pimiye! Peki Dakbo Pimiye! Paulo Rangze Tsagbaye! Paulo Rangze Tsagbaye! Free Tibet now! Free Tibet now! China to Tibet now! Save all the CCPs! Save all the CCPs! We want justice! We want justice! Save all the CCPs! Rangze Gyalo! Rangze Gyalo! Rangze! 조준아.
조준아, 그래도 원게다. Pene, up next, please give a warm welcome to Tinsi Metola. Hashler, do not mourn for me. What we should truly mourn is the loss of our country. Do not remain in grief. If you must grieve, then I ask each one of you to continue fighting for the just cause of the Tibet independence movement. This was Paul Logarang's dying wish. This was the simple request he made of us. Today, 6 weeks later, we stand here, not just to remember him, but to ask, when will the world hear our pleas? When will they answer our call to justice? How long will they turn a blind eye to our suffering? We stand before the United Nations, the very institution created to defend our human rights and our human dignity. And yet, 6 weeks later, after Logarang's final protest here, we are still demanding for Tibet to be heard. Our struggle did not begin 6 weeks ago. For generations, Tibetans have watched our political freedoms, religious freedoms, language, our culture be threatened under Chinese rule. Tibetan language and education faces increasing restrictions. Tibetan Buddhism is tightly controlled. Expressions of support for His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, can bring punishment. Peaceful expressions can result in detention. So if Tibetans inside Tibet cannot speak freely, we must. If they cannot protest freely, we must. And if they cannot stand here in front of the United Nations, then we must stand here for them. My generation, Gen Z, this is our responsibility. Our parents and grandparents carried this movement for decades. They marched, they organized, they taught us our language, they dressed us in our traditional clothing, brought us to protest, and refused to allow Tibet disappear from our hearts. But they cannot carry this movement forever. Soon, we will be the organizers. We will walk into government offices demanding action. We will teach the next generation what Tibet means. Our time is now. Use your phones for more than scrolling. Educate people. Share reliable information. Attend protests. Learn Tibetan history. Preserve our culture. Contact elected officials and support Tibetan organizations. Talk about Tibet even when Tibet is not trending. And to the leaders who can hear us, make Tibet a serious part of your foreign policy. Hold the Chinese government accountable for human rights abuses. Do not allow economic and political interests make Tibetan suffering easier to ignore. And to the United Nations right behind me, do not stay silent. If you stand for human rights, then Tibetan human rights must matter. If you stand for religious freedom, then Tibetan religious freedom must matter. And if you stand for the protection of culture, then Tibetan culture must matter. And if you stand for people whose voices are unheard, then listen to Tibet. Logarangzen asked us to not remain in grief, but to continue the cause he believed in. We honor that message by choosing to live, organize, educate, advocate, preserve our culture, and refuse to be silent. To every young Tibetan here, this is our generation now. To everyone else, you do not have to be Tibetan to stand against injustice. And to every leader who can hear us, how many more voices must cry out before you listen? We are here. We are speaking, and we are not giving up, and we will continue to stand for the Tibetan people, Tibetan culture, Tibetan identity, and Tibetan freedom. I am a mixed Bapa and Inji girl, and I am no longer afraid to use my voice for those whose voices have been silenced. My Tibetan may not be perfect. I still have more to learn about my language, my culture, and my freedom. But I am here. I am showing up, and I am learning. And I am ready to fight for Tibet's independence and for the future of my people. For a long time, I questioned whether I was Tibetan enough. I don't question that anymore. I am proud of where I come emotional.
Thank you so much, Tizimedala. Let us now welcome Tinzi Tigula to share her thoughts with us.
Give me 1 second.
Hello everyone, my name is Dinzi Tigi and I'm here today as a young Tibetan from Philadelphia. I've grown up hearing about Tibet, our history, and everything our people have been through. When I think about Tibet, I don't think about the mountains or our culture. I think about our identity. I think about our language, our traditions, and the people who have worked so hard to keep them alive. To me, Rangze means freedom. It means being able to speak Tibetan, practice our culture, and be proud of who we are without being afraid. One of the hardest things about learning about Tibet is hearing about Tibetans who have sacrificed their lives to make the world listen. Every person who self-immolates is a real person. They have families, friends, dreams, and people who love them. Recently, we lost Baologa Rangze, and his sacrifice has been really difficult for many Tibetans. For me, Logo Rangze was not just the name I heard on the news. He was a Tibetan who felt strongly enough about our people's struggle to make the ultimate sacrifice. His death reminds us that the struggle for Tibet is still happening. It also reminds us that we cannot let his message disappear. We should remember him not only through sadness, but by learning from his courage and continuing to speak about Tibet. Logo Rangze's sacrifice also makes me think about what our generation can do. We may not be able to change everything overnight, but we can keep his message alive. We can talk about Tibet, educate others, and make sure people know why Tibetans continue to fight for their identity and freedom. As young Tibetans and as Genz, I think we have the responsibility to take action. We have social media, phones, and the ability to contact people from across the world. We can use these things to talk about Tibet and help other people understand what is happening. We also need to learn about things like the Ethnic Unity and Progress Law and how it could affect Tibetan language, culture, and identity. Even though we are young, we should still care about these things because they will affect our future. Sometimes I ask myself, what will Tibet be like when our generation gets older? Will Tibetan kids still speak Tibetan? Will they know our history? And will they still be proud to say, I am Tibetan? I think that depends partly on us. We might be young, but that doesn't mean our voices don't matter. We can learn our language, learn our history, speak up, and keep Tibet in people's minds. We can honor people like Baologa Rangze. By making sure their sacrifices are not forgotten. We can carry their stories forward and make sure the next generation knows why we continue to stand for Tibet. Our culture matters, our identity matters, and Tibet matters. We will remember those who sacrificed for Tibet, and we will continue to raise our voices. Thank you. Pegala!
Moving forward, we're excited to hear from Tinzi Dogala.
Hello everybody, my name is Tenzin Dilker and I want to thank everyone for coming here today to support Tibet. Since 2009, more than 170 Tibetans have self-immolated, giving up their lives to free Tibet. Tibetans are being silenced in Tibet by the CCP and are hurt for resisting. So why can't we, the people who are living in countries where advocation is permitted, give up a bit of our time to contribute to a free Tibet? In Tibet, the CCP have set up colonial boarding schools where cultural erasure is enforced. The recent implementation of the Ethnic Unity Law has made cultural genocide even more vast and prominent across Tibet. Once we lose our culture, we lose our history, and all the sacrifices previously made go to vain. We have to make sure that we uphold our culture and traditions because we have the freedom to do so, unlike those in Tibet. We should be held accountable as Tibetans living in countries where we can use our voices, to utilize these rights and fight for the freedom of our country. As we get older, it is our responsibility as the youth to start to take initiative and fight for Tibet's independence. Bao Lobga Rangzin had achieved the freedom that every Tibetan in Tibet hopes for. He made it to America where he was free from the CCP's oppression and could have lived a peaceful life, but he decided to sacrifice his life right here to fight for Tibet's freedom. Before he had sacrificed his life, he had told us to unite and understand that we have one common goal of freeing Tibet. We need to fight now more than ever with the sacrifice that Bao Lobga Rangzin has made, because we are responsible for fighting for a free Tibet. Thank you.
Krishna Tinsi Doala. Tijala Tinsi Namjula is social media. I'm delighted to welcome Tinsi Namjula.
Hello, everyone. I just want to say thank you all for coming here and showing your support for Bao Lobga Rangzin. I want to say thank you all for supporting a freedom for free Tibet. Imagine living in a country where it is illegal to put up your own flag, to sing your own national anthem, or to even put up a picture of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Well, in Tibet, all of those things are illegal, and doing so can lead you to imprisonment, to put into concentration camps, to be tortured or even killed. For more than 3 million Tibetans living in Tibet, they are currently oppressed. This is a harsh reality. According to Freedom House, Tibet is one of the least free places in the world. Since the Chinese government took control of Tibet in 1950, Tibetans have faced imprisonment, torture, political oppression, forced assimilations, and the destruction of important aspects of their culture and identity. More than 1 million Tibetans have died under the Chinese rule. On July 1st, 2026, China's new Ethnic Unity and Progress Law came into effect. Under this language of unity, this law places more emphasis on a shared Chinese national identity and the use of Chinese in education and public life. For Tibetans, this is very concerning because for Tibetans, language is not just a way of speaking. It is a way of culture, religion, and our own identity. Imagine being a Tibetan child and going to school and slowly losing the ability to read, write, or even be able to speak your own language freely. Language is something that connects you to your culture, and it should not be erased. When a government controls an education system, it is shaping the identity of an entire generation. If Tibetan children are separated from their language and culture, what happens to Tibetan identity 20, 30, or even 50 years from now? A culture does not disappear overnight. It disappears when generation after generation is oppressed and prevented from passing it on. And this is exactly why we, as the younger generation, have a responsibility to protect our language, to protect our cultural heritage and our identity that our ancestors passed down to us. For decades, Tibetans have protested and sacrificed their lives in the fight for freedom. More than 170 Tibetans have self-immolated in protest against the oppressive Chinese rule. How many more lives must be lost before the United Nations takes actions? How many more voices must be silenced before the United Nations listens? The United Nations has done nothing for the fight of Tibet. United Nations has never helped anything for the cause of Tibet. On July 2nd, 2026, Bao Lobga Rangzin, a 52-year-old Tibetan activist and freedom fighter, self-immolated outside the United Nations headquarters, right over here. He self-immolated for a cause bigger than anything anyone could imagine. He self-immolated to draw the world's attention to the struggle of the Tibetan people. Bao Lobga Rangzin was not just a name in the media. He was an important member of our Tibetan community. He was a person with family, friends, and people who loved him dearly. He had a life that could have continued, but he chose to sacrifice for something bigger any one of us could have ever imagined. His last words before he self-immolated were, "I do not want you to mourn for me. I want you to continue the struggle for Tibetan independence, because the lack of independence is the root of all of our problems." Pe Gello, Pe Rangzin Gello. His sacrifice should not simply become another statistic. It should make us ask ourselves, what are we doing with the freedom that we have over here? Right now, we have the freedom to hold up the Tibetan flag. We have the freedom to speak our language, to spread awareness about Tibet. We have the freedom to put up a picture of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Tibetans in Tibet are not allowed to do that right now. I want us to remember what he was fighting for. Paul Lopkarangzin was fighting for the right for Tibetans to live freely in Tibet, to preserve our language, our cultural identity, and to have our voices be heard. He self-immolated so that we could one day return to Tibet, so that our grandchildren could return to Tibet. I believe that as Tibetans, we have a responsibility to speak up for Tibet. This responsibility does not belong to one generation. It belongs to each and every single one of us. As Gen Z, we have something so powerful, our voices. We have social media, technology. We have the ability to reach people across remote areas of the world. We can use these tools to educate others about Tibet, preserve our traditions, learn and speak the Tibetan language, and make sure that our culture does not disappear. We are asking you to stand for Tibet. You do not have to be a Tibetan to stand for Tibet. You have to be a human. Rangzin in Tibetan means freedom, and freedom is something that each and every single human being deserves. Pwe gelo! Pwe gelo! Pwe Rangzin gelo! Shame on the CCP! Shame on the CCP! Thank you.
Please join me in greeting our next speaker, Tinzi Tsepela.
Hello everybody, my name is Tinzi Tsepela and I am 12 years old. Today, I'm going to talk about Bao Logorangchen and his sacrifice for a free Tibet. On July 2nd, 2026, Bao Logorangchen made a heartbreaking and devastating decision to self-immolate himself outside of the United Nations headquarters. He did this action beside a Tibetan flag that he had placed. He chose this path because he felt that this was the only way to help people around the world learn about Tibet's struggles. Bao Logorangchen was not a stranger to hardships. He was born in eastern Tibet, left his home, and built a new life in the United States. Over the years, he lived as a Tibetan activist. More than 170 brave Tibetans have self-immolated themselves for a free Tibet. Bao Logorangchen has also spoken up against many policies that threaten Tibet's culture, language, and human rights. He made the sacrifice after a new law called the Ethnic Unity and Progress Law, which threatens to erase the very identity of Tibetans. Personally, when I first heard this news, I was deeply saddened because he was always there at protests and events. Before his passing, he asked people to not mourn him, but to carry forward his hope and to continue to fight for a free Tibet. When we talk about Bao Logorangchen, he isn't just a Tibetan. He is a Tibetan activist that has worked endlessly for a free Tibet. In Tibetan, the word Rangzin means independence. He did not just carry that name, he lived it. Rangzin! 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 Rangzin Gelo! Go to channel.
I would like to now invite Tinzi Tershi to come forward.
Today I want to talk about someone who had a big impact on my life. Abu Logorangchen. I knew him personally. I lived with him for more than 10 years, beginning when I was a little child. He wasn't just someone I heard about, he was a part of my life. He was like a teacher to me. He taught me why he believed it was important to stand up for Tibet's independence and to care about the Tibetan people. He always spoke with kindness and wanted us to understand his beliefs. He was also a very kind person. Whenever he traveled to protest or elsewhere, he would always bringing back small gifts. Those gifts made me happy. But what I remember most is that he is a man who feel grateful that I had a chance to know, and I will always remember his kindness and the lessons he taught me and the way he cared for others. He and other Tibetans who did the act of protesting through self-immolation did not only do this for the freedom of their nation, they also did it for the younger Tibetan generation, so that in the future they can have a place to call home. The sacrifice is a direct call to action for all of us. As the youth, we hold the future of Tibet in our hands, and we must find the courage to stand up, speak out, and proudly preserve our language and keep our rich culture alive every single day, and continue the fight for our country's freedom. We will never forget where we come from, and we'll never stop fighting for our homeland. Begalo! Thank you for listening.
We're happy to welcome Tinzi Desangla to the microphone. Hello, my name is Tenzin Desong. I'm a 16-year-old Tibetan born and raised right here in New York City. I'm a campaigns intern at SFT headquarters and a board member of the Students for a Free Tibet New York, New Jersey chapter. A few months ago, my life felt pretty ordinary. I was worrying about high school, hanging out with my friends, and catching subway on time to make to the Friday volunteer sessions at the SFT headquarters. But lately, being a Tibetan teenager feels like living in two completely different worlds. In one world, I'm just a normal kid trying to stay on top of my life. In the other, I'm opening my phone to see that someone I used to see at every single rally, someone who was there when I gave my very first speech for Tibet, has set himself on fire. Paul Logoronzin was so much to so many. If you have ever lived in New York, you knew him. He was always there at every rally, every hagar, every candle vigil. He was standing in the crowd right alongside us. He showed up for everyone, every time. Standing here today, the stranger's hardest part is looking out at the crowd, realizing he isn't in it. There's a photo of him sitting in the exact spot where he used to stand. I still find it difficult to believe that this actually happened. For me, Paolo Goronzin sat one day after the law was enacted. Every time the Chinese government talks about unity, Tibetans lose something. We lose another school that teaches our language. We lose another monastery to surveillance or the blade of a bulldozer. Another child forced into a colonial boarding school. We lose another Tibetan's life. And yet, against all odds, Tibetans inside Tibet are still resisting. It is our responsibility to stand behind them. Before he self-immolated, Paolo Goronzin left a final message. He said, "I don't want you to mourn me. I want you to continue the struggle for Tibetan independence." That is a call to action. Paolo Goronzin gave his life for Tibetan freedom right here on the doorstep of the United Nations. And yet the UN remains silent on Tibet. After his sacrifice, the only response from the United Nations was that it's absolutely tragic. And it's important that minorities are respected and made to feel as part of a whole. It is absolutely tragic that this is all the UN has to say. Tibetans are not asking to be made to feel like part of a whole. We are asking to have our identity, our rights, our existence as a people recognized and protected. Because we are still here. We call on UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, to break his silence on Tibet, establish an independent UN investigation into China's genocidal policies in Tibet, and demand the abolition of China's colonial boarding school system, which has stolen 1 million Tibetan children from their families. Us here in exile are part of a generation who have never stepped foot in Tibet. Many people do not remember or were not even alive for the 2008 uprisings. But we are the generation who has to watch Tibetan children online who cannot pronounce their own names. We are the ones with more access, tools, and exposure than ever before. So we have no excuse, no right to turn even a blind eye. Freedom is our birthright, and yet we have learned the hard way that freedom will never be handed to us. It must be fought for. So when this protest ends, don't leave this energy on the sidewalk. Step out of your comfort zone. Join a Tibet organization or an event. Talk to one person about Tibet every day. Use your voice. Make the choice to fight back until we achieve what Paul Logarangje fought for, lived his life and gave his life for. A free Tibet! Pegalo! Pegalo! Perangtengalo! Perangtengalo! Justice for Logarangje! Justice for Logarangje! China out of Tibet now! China out of Tibet now!
，Now I welcome Tawandamala to come up on the mic. Hello everyone, and Teshidila. My name is Tawandama, and I am 13 years old. Today, I am standing here outside the United Nations because I am a Tibetan child, and I have something important to say. The day before Logarangje passed away, I was fortunate enough to have met him casually outside my house along with my mother. He told me to be kind. He told me to respect others. He told me to listen to my mother. But there was one thing he told me that I will never forget. He told me, never forget that you are Tibetan. Those words have stayed with me. I am only 13 years old, but I understand that being Tibetan is more than just having a Tibetan name. It is our language. It is our culture. It is our history. It is our identity. And today, Tibetan children inside Tibet are facing a future where that identity is being taken away from them. Children my age are being separated from their families and placed in boarding schools under policies described as promoting ethnic unity and progress. But I have a simple question. What kind of progress makes a child lose their language and culture? What kind of unity requires children to grow up away from their families and communities? I am lucky that I can speak Tibetan. I am lucky that I can learn about my culture. I am lucky that I can stand here today and proudly say, I am Tibetan. But Tibetan children in Tibet deserve that same right. They deserve to speak their own language. They deserve to learn their own history. They deserve to know their culture, and they deserve to grow up with their families. This is why Logarangje's word means so much to me. Some people have called him crazy or stupid. Even the New York Post called him a lunatic. But before judging him, I want people to ask, why did he feel that he had to sacrifice everything just to make the world listen to Tibet? I am not here to say that losing a life is the answer. I want to live. I want to grow up. I want to go to school, laugh with my friends, and have a future. And I want Tibetan children in Tibet to have that same future. A future where they can be Tibetan without fear. A future where they can speak their own language. A future where they can learn their own history and culture. A future where children do not have to lose their lives for the world to listen. Logarangje wanted the world to hear about Tibet. And today, we are here because we heard him. We must not let his voice disappear. We must not forget him. And we must not forget the more than 170 Tibetans who have lost their lives through self-immolation while calling attention to the situation in Tibet. Every child deserves the right to know who they are. And no policy called unity or progress should erase the child's language, culture, or identity. So today, standing here outside the United Nations, I ask the world, please listen to Tibet. Please listen to Tibetan children. Please protect our language, our culture, and our identity. And most importantly, please do not forget Lobga Ramjin. He told me never forget you are Tibetan. I promise I'll remember. And I hope all of you will remember too. Pegalo! Pegalo! Lobga Ramjin Galo! China out of Tibet now! China out of Tibet now! Free Tibet! Thank you.
Please welcome her.
Just today, my name is Dinzi Mingi and I am from Chicago. First, I would like to thank the New York and New Jersey community for hosting all of us that are not from here. Everything was carried out with perfection and compassion, so thank you for being very accommodating. I would like to say how impressed I am with the younger Gen Z who are not only proud of their heritage but also want to stand up for and fight for free Tibet. If the younger Gen Z wants to start an SFT club or Tibet club, there definitely will be professors who support Tibet that can help you. I encourage the college students to start your own chapters or Tibet clubs. I wanted to share a story of the time when I participated in our college international fair. The next year, 2 Chinese club students set a meeting. They wanted the college to not allow me to participate. They said my flag was an insult to their face and a slap in their face. At the meeting, at the end of the meeting, I had to agree to not show the map of Tibet in my poster. They thought they could silence me here in America, just like they did in Tibet. They could not. It is a privilege to wear this flag, and I wonder how many Tibetans your age that don't even remember what the flag looks like anymore. You can use the Tibetan flag stickers on Instagram and Snapchat and use it as much as possible. Yesterday, we stood together, and I thought to myself, how many people in Tibet dream of simply being able to stand openly with our flag? I've never seen our country, Tibet, with my own eyes, but I have been attending protests ever since I can remember, and I will continue to do so. I knew Uncle Laura personally, as he was a good family friend and was very kind to me growing up. And he's always been a freedom fighter, and his sacrifice will not go in vain. And to the United Nations, you have a responsibility to humanity. You have a responsibility to protect the people in this world and defend human rights. How can you turn a blind eye when the world once said, never again after the Holocaust? We must not allow history to repeat itself. When human rights are violated, the international community has a responsibility to speak up. You need to wake up and hold China accountable for the mountains upon mountains of human rights violations inflicted upon the Tibetan people. We cannot remain silent. We cannot look away. Tibet deserves freedom, dignity, and the right to determine its own future. Long live! Long live! Long live! Pekalo! 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 Pekalo!
我之前呢，等这边给了，的确了，是个 Minnesota 呢，等这南州来给送上那个陪个嘞 ，Please welcome her.
My name is Tenzin Namde and I'm from Minnesota. I remember when I first heard about Taologorongzin. I didn't know him personally, but there was a prayer for him in Minnesota. And it was only like an hour after it happened, and there were so many people in the room. And there were so many emotions that we all felt. And it made me realize that the Tibetan community is so strong when we all truly want one thing together. Bao wasn't self-immolated for many reasons. To spread awareness on the religion and cultural suppression on Tibetans by the Chinese government, for more political autonomy and independence, and especially to bring awareness to the Chinese ethnic unity law, a new law which promotes all of China to make a singular Chinese national identity that aligns with the Chinese Communist Party. It legally enforces the Mandarin language as a primary language of teaching from preschool to high school, which restricts local minority language education. It also requires schools, media, and government offices to teach using the officially state-backed views on history, culture, and religion. And this is propaganda to favor China. Not only is it a way to brainwash many young Tibetans living in Tibet, it also poses a large threat to the extinction of our language, religion, and culture. Without our language, Tibetans lose a vital form of communication and connection with each other, especially between the older and younger generations. Our religion and culture need to be protected so that we can connect with each other, pass down generations worth of knowledge, experience, and most importantly, it gives us something worth fighting for. Slogan didn't show it out for Tibet, something that many Tibetans living in Tibet don't have the freedom to do. I have family living in Tibet. I have a cousin there who's now almost 14, 15 years old, and I have never met her once in my life. This is not out of choice, but it's out of the Chinese party who refuse to let certain Tibetans into Tibet. People that speak out for Tibet, and they aren't allowed to go inside of China. But it doesn't make a difference because no matter what we do, we are all Tibetan. And it is our duty and our responsibility to fight for Tibet because people inside Tibet can't do that. Bao Logaranzen is an inspiration for everyone here. We need to look at his lifelong actions of advocating and fighting for Tibet as a lesson that we have to learn from. We have family. We all have family back in Tibet, not just me. And since they can't speak against this, like I said, it is our responsibility. And it seems like the suppression is so inhumane that the only ways people in Tibet feel as if they can make a difference to spread awareness are by extreme acts of protest and sacrifice such as self-immolation. They feel as if death is a better way to go out than living in a Chinese-ruled Tibet. There have been over 171 cases of self-immolation. The first one occurring in 1998 by Bawa Tukchingondu, who is a Tibetan activist living in New Delhi. And the youngest having been Bawa Dorji, a 15-year-old monk. He's younger than almost everyone here. These people were so brave to sacrifice their lives for their countries. So it should be the bare minimum for all of us to protest as much as we can and speak up against the Chinese government and their actions, no matter where we are. I believe that if we keep fighting for our rights and our independence, one day we will all be able to go back to Tibet, not China. I believe that we can go meet our families without worrying about getting sent back. And I believe that we will be able to freely and openly express our cultural identity everywhere we go. Pegala! Free Tibet! Free Tibet!
Please welcome her.
但是的那米电子车的人都中意的。Bao Lobgarang is self-immolated for Tibet's independence. He recorded a final video message aimed squarely at his fellow exiles. In it, he warned against complacency among Tibetans who have built comfortable lives abroad, insisting that the freedoms of exile carried a responsibility, not an excuse to disengage from the cause. He invoked the Dalai Lama's establishment of a democratic system for the exile community. He stated that the democratic system was a tool for unity rather than division. He additionally appealed to Tibetans from all regions, Yuzhang, Kam, and Amdo alike, to set aside older regional rifts. He concluded that every Tibetan should keep every Tibetan should keep contributing to the struggle in whatever way they could. Lobgar Ramjin, over 170 people, self-immolated themselves to fight for independence. The reason we struggle from these extreme positions is because we lost our independence. We have to take it back. Stand your ground against this law. Children get sent to boarding school when they're just little kids. My parents and so many others got sent to exile from the CCP. All of us need to continue the legacy of Bao Lobgarangze. All of us need to learn the ways of our own culture. We all need to unite against the CCP. One day we'll gain back our independence. Pujalo! 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 Sojiche.
就是呢，就是了，就是了，他人给选给他们说是那个的，就是保证了这个度。To conclude our lineup today, please give a huge round of applause to our final speaker, Denzi Bandela.
Bao Lobgar died for Tibet. He self-immolated himself in front of the UN headquarters on July 2nd around 5 to 6 p.m. He sacrificed himself for a belief that Tibet will someday be free. He died in hope for a new era of Tibet. Tibet was a peaceful country that never got in any international wars, but the Chinese took over for no reason. The UN isn't helping, so it is up to us to make Tibet a new place, a free country. In his last message, he wished that instead of Tibetans splitting apart, they all come together to work together to free Tibet. Bao Lobgar didn't just sacrifice himself for Tibet. He sacrificed himself for the children who get sent to boarding school, where the Chinese can wipe the knowledge about Tibet. The Panchen Lama, who was imprisoned at 6 years old and has been in jail for 31 years and still is to this day. And the most of all, the Dalai Lama, so he can return to the Potala Palace, and that Tibet can be free, because Tibet was never part of China. Never forget that you are Tibetan, and we all are. One nation, one blood. Rest in peace, Bao Lobgar and the other 170 other Tibetans that self-immolated. We will never forget your deeds. Bujalo! Free Tibet! China out of Tibet now! Thank you.
Tujishla la, Denzi Bandela. Dijela, Sani Shunu Tok, Ushunu Tok, Denzi Bandela, ne, Tujiche Social Langyo.
인게 돈이 주저버지 한다 얘기 지난들이 얘기를 땀 깨져셔야 되는 개부지매 다 이니야 단다 다른 언저기 베베기 쉔게기 겐지 계진에 도스레온 좀말라 도마들라 통치 시주시다 지다 얘 언저 베베기 소소 베리기 소소 개가 메리시도 탑재시 좀말 얘 통치 주고 메라 남샤기도 얘 랍디고 다이나 다리 대랑 언저 쉔게 망고 쇼지 소소 게 소소 계진에 도스텔라 소소기 자리 지진에 개갑다 메리 탑재기 시도 계시야 알레온 좀말라 대야 맞으로 초와 싸워지다 누가 싸워지 안테나 숑라이 달리 뺏어오지 나저기 탑저기 그림 나로라 겐슈 바스움 차장기 겐키기 여 누바디 여다 칙디기 누바 여래 이 지지 좀 봐라 이게 칙 까마니니 순지게 계저치에 나한테서 다딩에 인계돈 주줘봐지 first of all I would like to thank each and everyone the speakers who gathered here and they shared their views their thoughts what they feel about our own country and our own people's struggle, especially the Tibet's independence. 먼저 그 개갑다 랑제 믹스기 소소의 쉔게기 다다 그 개갑 날서 지고도 누가디 독수대원 담발라 먼저 차상기 개인기부터 내가 누가 축제 봉도야 마음발라 다시 마음발라 먼저 남샤 교도 랍디 원래 그 마음 벽이 선자 당한조 마오 베기 선사 다들 될 여기 다들이 소셜나니 콩나바 주 사실에 되냐 되나 들이 망부 쇼지 좀더 들링이 제수이랑 당가주 쉬어더니 현조 창마 나조 창마 지당아 젠지나 주고 말이가 밀리는 제인이 안 가던데 젠지 다 벽이 슈늘 해서라 좀바라 슈누기 직소 나올라 시수주 슈누기 로세드 로줍시기 연답 차장 로줍시기 연답 차장 슈늘 해서기 직소기 총미 지초고 이 가래라나 슈늘 해서기 직소기 삼루이 계속 나올라 로기찬이 쉔겨요레 샘기찬이 쉔겨요레 누바기찬이 쉔겨요레 지식 슈누기 안에 단데 총미 나올라 따데나 로 기주쇼가 된대 열 로 기주를 망아 징게된대 열 건조역이 수술 로디 기주인의 수술기 삼로 합주역이 누바디 쉐게지가 누바의 점발을 뒤에 점발 쉔지도 원에 로 줍시 연답 차상지 슈누이란 슈누에서 직접 나올라 줍시네 연답 예슈 파송 차상의 점발라 기진이 그냥도 직접 그 쉐게 라이드 되겠는 차도 그런데 믹스액이 예 쉬어지다 먼저 예자 벽이 슈누에서 직접 이 규례 강의 원에 먼저 단다 지도자기 어디 나올라 fact got Tibetan 딩상 점블링 교용을 자나 저 겸을 숑기 지도 자기의 지도 장lem기 균에 니주 주마서야 니주 원이 임바디 주마서야 니주 매워지 싸웠어야 이런 망고 슈지 나한테월 지대월 등도 차장지다 딩상 먼저 미세기 숑기 주제다 딩상 주제 이 점블링 주제기 지도 자기에게 주제 인사 몰라 완전히 슈네서 직접 원에 가지고 fact got Tibetan 가지고 페이스북 페이지요래 안 디나로랑 가지고 다 단데 알아서 베베 르규래 알아서 베베기 가라 니주 망부 쇼지 가지고 그룹 체진에 다 리메이션 도스로디 그래 안 디나로는 따시네 아니 남규 자나 더 겸할 숑기 혹시 지대한 가지고 지도자게는 따되나 가지고 대사 스팸 어카운트 레이라 어카운트 주마 망부 쇼지기 아니 체게 줘 가지고 베베 니주 가라 니주 디 말에 주말에 내가 망부 쇼 통고를 찾아하고 오라 된다 뭐 가지고 신을 직접 원에 아니 가지고 단다 리시드 줘도 좀이래 안 디나로랑 가지고 남규 쉔게 당랑 카카시 건 남샤 균들 레디도 된다마 다들 대라 쉐게 망부 쇼지 좀을 잡아라 완전히 단다디 레시데 도 단다 우드사이드 기 단다 까마바 소사이티요 되게 단다 샤보기 강발랑 완전히 단다 레공도 좀을 샤요 안 된다마 쉐게 망부 쇼지 소지 게임키지 되나로 냠쇼 지드나 완전히 소지 베베 르규 강라데 아니 고도 베 강라 남규 완전 다 온라인 파이트 레그로 피지컬리 요거 배워줘 온라인 파이트 쇼지야 다 된다 된다마 완전 온라인 규지네 지도 자기 규진에 아니 체인지에 아니 소소 르기로에 안 등산 믹스 가서 알아서 배 개다디 비저 지도나 아주 배 개다기 이모지디 여대와래 안 된다마 되도 등산 체인 좀 먹고 슈팅으로 되도 가라 가지고 되도 자나 슝기 간주 베베기 레고 베겨로 혼자 포고요 어디 뺑어서 되어오다 딩가서 갖고 오래 릭지가 레다 아주 친이 가르쳐 오래 혼자 가르쳐 봐서 총사 지도 자기 기능 나가서 따대다 혼자는 아주 레고 집에나 혼자도 나는 주마 망고 쉬고 싶어지는 체 땅에 고두고도 대도 차단지 가르 가나 쇼기 간주 자오 개발 쇼기 간주기 레구페 대도 차단 도나 지고요 콘솔라 디기 니주 지고 고두 패스오르 딘삼발랑 간주기 믹스기 쉔게 케나바데 드림 망고 쉬고 좀 아니 간주 쉬는서 직접 오면 단다 페이스북 기 페이지 단다 차단 폰 열어 everyone have phone right so can you check your Facebook and text fact God's Tibet. Fact God's Tibet. Digi dan the website dan the susah di ngaju news simai. Dan the fact God ki tawan fact God Tibet ki tawan sada ngaro tu bego na yo. Ngaju ki sada ji news simai sa di yo. Ani din to bala. Dan ngaju ki chido ki Facebook na lo la yo. Mutu jine ngaju ki website re ani shemba kyu jin dusle yo gore. Ani din na lo la ngaju mixi ki shunge. Degala gen jin ani rewa shui 아니 간주기 리그운데 단다 우드사이드 기사이드라 단다 까마바기 디 소사이티요 디 빌딩기 베이스먼트 라요 아니 데라 두즈 동바 소저기 두즈 동바나 파인 야바도 용어지네 아니 소저 gen키지네 디래야 옵션 차야 되네 요 두즈 직세다시 슈나체 안타드네 땅 알아 졸라네 메비 우티 저노 고서 겸고에 전부 저 구제 깨게 대신 아니 배 시제 냠도 명 면함제 오케이 시제 냠좀 요원 문디제 배갈로 and the fact God is spelling the FACT fact GUARD God and Tibet. Dire and the 배배 지로지 대나로라 가지 니도 망고치 단다 가지 총리치다 지미위 당 가지 배개갑다 루규도 스타운도 비미시 퀸첨보를 다 대나로라 가지 니도 망고치 쿠룹 지지니 대나로로 한데 쉔게 사상 비주 가로스다 별이 수기 비주다나 디고 제 믹스기 지도 자기 근에 당 가지 자마 레로 자마 계속 뭐도 fight in a social media way 요 social media 균에 가서 마게 줘라 디이 아니 도대체 배갈로 배란제 갈로 지나고서 겸고요 전부초 배란제 짱마이 겸아변의 파교시 도대체
Please welcome her.
Just Tangmala, I give me Chimi, and I tanda college student. And so I Tangwila Chashi met the Kitchella, so but met Tangwala be inspired to so I Chinchi Tunduchi or sums. But I get to move Mombunga like it to catch me United Nations. Ding like it catching Shia do your Kusala and Yankee mother lucky do right. And then Lata la Jangi, Kashni United Nations, Uyghur the Sagi, Kashni Yingimendo and Sagi, Zindala Lapsa. Peggy Nala Lucky Mendo and I give a Kitchiga Jenny. Kutsu Yoda ended Lapsa, like United Nations la Jodang is how like it is so how could we kind of do it? And on so he pepper this is how many young pushing it. United Nations like it is share like you told us a come get a tea, the Kashni, Titsula or Lucky do. Titsula Maranga, Tamambo Kasimumbo Lamne, like Kasimumbo to like yesterday. And that's why once he did this Yoda, once he generation that Tumu to put this how I love with it. Kashni was a good like you get a education, once we're educated, we're gonna get more educated as we go on. And education, China P5 country cheat, but that's why United Nations go to la how cool China be China la Fisha Kazimumbo power to Kutula into Shinya Machune Wonzigi Kopla. And so earlier Michi Kijishisa Unzigi United Nations love good and then to Tupac and Koto Unzilla attention Suida and Unzi Chida and the Dawn Yamatapa Rishlene Maneto Dane and then he Local Anson Chad until Hakore Candice Kitchen wood and then he wants to pay Yahoo on the New York Times or Unzi Dilla and then Unza Tema Tango until New York Post near Tongue Lunatic Down Lane English not Soda and that just shows like media gala Unziki read the Tibetan movement, CIA, the Tongila, right? Love good it, because Unzugi educated and we have to use our education for the better purpose and go into school, stay in school and help it. Unzugi educate, try to be then like Unzilla Parama, like it, Unzugi Yakut the condition that it's a Tama Hakura. So that's just something I want to say.
디젤라 어제산에 쪽쪽이 소신한게 상만 올라가다 피나 그래.
참말로라 타단다 간조 산에 신능연의 현재기 genki교보다 마오 간조 배대 탑재대 현재라게 제기교보다 대리 가능 간조기 대리 계제 전제지체 아니 현재라 고가필에 아니 아니 다른 게다 땀시 나게 대나로라 아니 현재 망보지기 차시 제나샤 아니 다 현재 망보지 될라 페샤 아니 참말로라 닝타반에 가린 제스라니 쉐이 타단다디 현재게 땀시디 간저기 믹스 다 간저 현재라 소시 배들 탑재디 게트게 버선자 현재라 피샤바시레 임바이나 다 단다 간저라 간저기 투저기 채널에 참말로라 간저기 차시 조각 피토마서 아니 일단 뉴욕 뉴저지 산에 표시는 저 산에 데라가니 아니 간저기 트윈이 투저다 배들 다 현재라 안 땀지 제야다 현재기 되게라 간저기 트윈 데스 레게 베기 아니 넘버 참말로기 제마기 더 레게 되게라 간저기 조각 피쇼스라니 비지 참말로라 쉐이 아니 믹스기 다나 디나올라 냠슈 난게 참말로 원내거랑 땀시 지금 나한테 가서 원내 가서 마오 벽이 합제돼 다 먼저 센터 지금 민도 와상박이 내려 소들 아니라고 지나 소화 내려실래서 아니 파마리 보고데 되네 돼서 소소 배대 탑재 달라 개개야 아니 참말로기 개념로기 새로 나슬라니 쉬어다 아니 타마딜라 따다 나가서 될라 가서 빠르시게 되지리 아니 당한서 미망 되좀 첨부지 대나로라 페샤 아니 댕에는 간저기 싸다 리바시에 임바이나 따다나 간저기 연기 더 된다 뒷마디 차기에 대신에서 일찍에 빌리강 게 아니 간다고 될라 싸다 다가라라 하는 간저 다른 이슈는 지지 먼저 세정하고 보조결에 아니 세정하고기 디나로라 아니 기술염신 난게 여봐이나 아니 최대 20답씩이 세정하고래 아니 간저도 민도나는 나 다다봐도 민도나게 가라 간다는 주소 아니 나가 저기 민도나와 시속이 아니 간저기 세정하고디 딘마 남거슬라 호라피기 인슬라니 디지셔이 아니 참말로가 투체나 아니 타다나가 빠르시게 아니 현재 상마 가마마 현재 상마 딘라 페로 지슬라니 셔이 먼저 빠르시게 현재 가져야봐야나 딜라페로 지고지 현재 현재 정보페로지 현재 아니 현재 나올로니 단당하죠 당시에 나게 줘라디 현재 당시에 나게 딜라페로지
Genz oğlum Genz.
Chinese government! We want justice!
사단당도 디닝한테 단답할라 검대도야래 아니 다 검대기 단다 조제딩 가서 대적이 차니 비스 가서 치라서 이마나 가서 마음을 되어지 아니 게스트에 나가서 디니 현재기 네트니 아니 가서 사마파 라와 타가서 디니 검대도야라 단다 당부 아니 현재기 네트 비원이 아니 가서 사마파도 검대도야 있을라니 쉐이 까마 찌지게 야 안되지는 가서 검대거든
Chinese mission. Come on, kumbash kumare.
영민 기사님 같은데.
Long live! Long Stop the killing! Stop the killing! Stop the torture! Stop the torture! Stop the genocide! Stop the genocide! Shame on! Shame on!
Chinese government!
Human rights! Human rights!
Internet!
Religious freedom!
Internet!
Religious freedom!
Internet!
Language rights!
Internet!
Language rights!
Internet!
My identity!
My rights!
My identity!
My rights!
My identity!
My rights!
Wake up! Wake up!
United Nations!
Wake up! Wake up!
United Nations!
We want justice!
We want justice!
We want justice!
We want justice!
Loga die for free Tibet!
Logan, die for free Tibet!
Loga die for free Tibet!
Logan, die for free Tibet!
China lies! China lies! United Nations!
We want justice!
United Nations!
We want justice!
Justice for!
Logan,
Justice for!
Logan,
Ranze! Ranze!
Logan,
Ranze! Ranze!
Logan,
Loga Ranze! Loga Ranze! Loga Ranze!
Take your chain!
Bao Loga!
Take your chain!
Bao Loga!
Take your chain!
Release the nation Lama now!
Release the nation Lama now!
Free Tibet! Free Tibet! China out of Tibet now!
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 Tibet belongs to!
Chinese!
Tibet belongs to!
Chinese!
Shame on!
Chinese government!
Shame on!
Chinese government!
Shame on!
Chinese government!
Stop the killing!
Internet!
Stop the killing!
Internet!
Stop the torture!
Internet!
Stop the torture!
Internet!
Human rights!
Internet!
Stop the genocide!
Internet!
Stop the genocide!
Internet!
Stop the murder!
Internet!
Stop the murder!
Internet!
Shame on!
Chinese government!
Shame on!
Chinese government!
Human rights!
Internet!
Human rights!
Internet!
Religious freedom!
Internet!
Religious freedom!
Internet! China out! Free Tibet! China out!
Genz movement Dina, Rana ki Samsu da Tatsu, Rewa Chenamshi, Namchun Nanki ki Shingi Tamalola, Tuji Chishu. A heartfelt thank you to all our young speakers for sharing your voices, perspective, and hopes with us today. Manzu Ranzen ki Rewa ta, Pedun Tatsu ki Gentini, Mirab Jemanam ki Guzin ta, Ranzen ki Mejini, Mirab ne Mirab ki Gunzin Chagyobashigi. The responsibility to carry forward our aspiration for Ranze and the Tibetan cause belongs to the generation that follows. Gen Z carries the flame and the legacy of Ranze lives through us. Tujina. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Tenzin wangi lande, mima lalu.
Thank you, Genz.
이만 우샤피로나 이만 나로
Wait, that's really insane.
투자나 따다나 어디 랑가 dinner 이 공들들 방금 신기 tamsin nanggere 신기 gene thing do ne nga kebe ja chin rai kawas din lamba stano chin lag shai 단다 알레 만족이 단다데 초소치 반딜라 플로치니 페로치 참말로 견적 준비 최성년이 교수가 뭐 이게 빨라
Okay.
China out of Tibet now! Tibet must never follow China! Lie to the world!
Free Tibet!
We want justice. We want justice.
We want justice!
United Nations, we want justice! Justice for Loga Ranke!
왜 야다 가지고 있길래?
Justice for Loga Ranke!